When it comes to creature features, the 1990s are probably one of the most entertaining decades to look for fun. Well-known movies like Lake Placid, Deep Blue Sea, Anaconda, and of course, one of the most groundbreaking films ever made, Jurassic Park, all came out in the 90s, and all of them have kind of gone on as household names for film buffs in some way or another. Jurassic Park and The Lost World were obviously two of the most successful animal attacks / monster movies of their time, but there was another popular franchise that got started back then that wasn't too profitable at first. With that being said, when the movie came out on cable and home video, pretty much everyone in the world got to see it, and a pop culture legend would soon be born. Tremors is a 1990 horror comedy western themed adventure starring Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Reba McIntire, and Michael Gross. It was directed by Rob Underwood, who would later go on to do the remake of Mighty Joe Young, which I might just have to talk about at some point. Now, the plot of Tremors, for the three of you out there who are living under a rock, involves giant prehistoric sandworms that have invaded a small Nevada town and started killing everyone off just as the two main protagonists, Val and Earl, have decided to leave the place.
Must be a million of them! Nope, just one.
The movie cost $10 million to make, but sadly only made a little over $16 million at the box office, so you can guess how much of a disappointment that was for everybody involved. Still, Tremors managed to find its audience on home video and apparently became one of the most rented movies of 1990. This helped propel the franchise forward and spawned 6 sequels, a TV series, and a ton of other merchandise, and that's because this movie is fucking awesome. Let me tell you a little something about growing up in a trailer park during that time period. Everyone and their mother knew about Tremors. This was the kind of monster movie that was around pretty much everywhere you looked, and that's because it was an enjoyable time that captured a lot of that rural atmosphere and character portrayal perfectly. The characters in Tremors are instantly recognizable and entertaining every second they appear on screen, and the creature effects for the monsters are also extremely fun. The monsters were done by Amalgamated Dynamics, who also worked on some of the Alien movies, Mortal Kombat, Starship Troopers, and Spider-Man, believe it or not. And what they created is one of the most popular B-movie monsters ever made with graboids. These creatures are giant-sized worms that predate the fossil record. They've got little snake-like tongues that jump up from the ground and grab you just before they pull you under into that rhinoceros beetle-looking jaw structure that can't be too good to be inside of. To say that this was one of the most popular creature feature franchises is an understatement, and it made a pretty big impact once the film came out on television. I can remember back in the day, and I've heard other people say this before, so it couldn't have just been us, but there were several times where a bunch of guys would run onto jungle gyms and other recess equipment in order to avoid touching the ground, which if you happen to fall off or be caught on, a giant graboid could come up and grab you, which it's kind of funny looking back. It's like a more entertaining version of The Floor is Lava. That was a really fun time, man. Now look, I know that most of you have already seen this movie, and that's a good thing, but for those of you who haven't, I can't stress enough how much fun this movie is. Everything from the action sequences to the ways in which characters go about figuring stuff out, and even the comedy is always on point from beginning to end. Especially the comedy, which is once again done in a way that I always felt was a pretty accurate representation of how people would act if they were caught in this sort of situation.
Damn prairie dog burrow.
Sometimes monster movies can get a bad reputation from films that are basically nothing more than a shallow retread or ripoff of something everyone has already seen before, but movies like Tremors are why I think a lot of us became fans of this sort of stuff back in the day. And honestly, when I look back, it really was Jurassic Park and the Tremors series that got people's attention more than anything else in comparison in retrospect. In fact, in 2015, after literally years of absence, Universal decided to dust off and revive the Tremors series, and what I'm going to assume was their home video department's way to capitalize off of Jurassic World's success, which hey, wound up earning them a few more sequels and a pilot episode of a TV series that brought back Kevin Bacon, which unfortunately got canceled before it even began, which is a damn shame because this trailer they released looked excellent, but hey, I'll have to talk about all of that at some other point in time. Now, the original movie, the first Tremors, was the only one in the series to receive a legitimate theatrical release, with pretty much everything else coming out direct to video or on the Sci-Fi Channel in the years to come, which is of course due to that box office being kind of low in comparison to other projects. But make no mistake, this is one of the funniest and most entertainingly original monster movies that I could ever recommend people watch. And it's a movie that is not only a fun throwback to those 1950s films about giant bugs and other stuff, but it's also a really fun exploration of this little rural town. Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, who sadly just passed away, are some of the most likable and relatable people I've ever seen in these types of movies, and they pretty much bring a level of authenticity to the plot that I don't think gets talked about enough. One of these days I'm gonna have that portrait Rhonda took of them on my wall, but hey, what are all of your thoughts on Tremors, the original Tremors from 1990? Do you agree with my thoughts in the film? And if not, please tell me why you're wrong in the comments down below. Anyways, guys, that's all I have to personally say about this movie. Now, I want to ask you guys, what's your favorite part? How do you feel about the sequels? And would you like to see that Kevin Bacon show they released a trailer for? That looked really cool. I don't know what was wrong. I guess they couldn't decide on funding or just didn't want to pick it up. I would have been front row seats ready to watch it. But hey, whatever your answers to those questions happen to be, I'd love to hear them. Go watch Tremors, guys. Tell me all about your opinions in the comments down below.